Welcome to the Eagle Eye Podcast, the number one show to bring you all things Club America in English, from tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to recap that 3-2 victory against Cruz Azul in the Clásico, Joven. We're going to talk about the things that we liked, spoiler alert, not so many, and the things that we didn't like, spoiler alert, there's a lot. And then, of course, we'll give you guys updates as to what's going on in the world of Las Águilas del América. And then, briefly, before we start, I just want to give a shout out to AJ, who's doing an amazing job right now covering the Liga MX Femenil, América Femenil. They're on route to hopefully take Tigres down. Right now, I believe Katy Killer has just scored. So if you guys are listening to this right now via live, then you guys got an update right there. Shout out to AJ. But introducing today's co-hosts that are going to be talking all things America with me. It is none other than New York's favorite resident, Christian Rosendo, and my OC neighbor, Chris Rivera. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Doing good. I was just looking at you and I was like, if I wear glasses, do we kind of look alike?
I think we do. We could be twins. We could be long lost twins if you wore glasses.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just a little more darker than you, but I think we could pass
That's
as
okay.
brothers though, maybe.
Yeah, no,
Maybe.
100%. Maybe
I don't
not
know.
the. I don't know.
I don't know.
Your hair's a little curlier than mine.
We
so.
got the beard
I
going.
was
though.
gonna say, you guys get the same haircut.
I was trying to find glasses just now because I kind of when I play, I wear a blue light glasses.
Yeah, that's literally what these are.
Right, exactly. So I was trying to find them to put them on, see if we kind of look alike, but I couldn't find them. So maybe
It's
next
okay.
podcast.
Next
But,
podcast, we'll have it.
Yeah, no. I hope you guys are doing okay. It's hot here. It's hot here, and yeah. Hopefully the weather gets a little cooler. But I'm excited to talk about America. Like you said, Ivan, there's a lot of things we liked and a lot of things that we didn't like, and I'm sure we're getting into a little debate about some things. But happy to be here once again with both of you.
Alrighty, and then from one hemisphere to the other, Chris, talk to me. How's the heat over in sunny Anaheim?
It's annoying, but it's not as bad as it's been this summer.
It's not. It's this is probably one of the more cooler weathers that we've podcasted in the past like 2 months. So
in the
I'm
morning,
ecstatic.
it was super cloudy over here. I don't know how it was over there, but it was like kind of cloudy, and then like
Same.
once it hit noon, it just started getting a little like what that annoying heat. It's not like, oh man, it's so hot. It's just like you're indoors and you're just like, man, why does it feel like that?
I know, I feel you, brother. But hey, we're almost out of there, and I would imagine the same goes for you, Christian. Summer is just around the corner to end, and with that, hopefully comes better times, not just weather-wise, but for Las Águilas del América as well. Well, gentlemen, there's only one thing on today's schedule, and that's the Clásico, Joven, right? Great. Thankfully, there's an international break that we'll get into, right? We have a friendly against Tigres in the States. We'll maybe touch upon that in just a second and how important that is coming into the Clásico. But let's talk about this Clásico, Joven, that I think painted itself differently, like 3 different ways throughout the match. So basically, we started off on the right foot. America scored early, right? One thing that we always heavily want to see this side is get on the scoreboard early. And then completely shifts, completely changes. A whole different America is playing once that goal comes in. Talk to me a little bit about your initial reaction, Christian. How did you see the team from the get-go? I mean, you saw that we get on the board right away. Great goal by Julian Quiñones, who puts the ball in the back of the net, which I think Brian did a great job at making that happen. Just talk to me a little bit about the first couple minutes.
Yeah, no, like you said, I think it was a very positive image, and kind of that we always wanted something from America, and like the past recent years, is to start strong. It seems like we always just kind of try to feel out the opponent, but I think the message was just go out there, get it, we're obviously the better team. Let's go out there, let's go find something extremely early, and sooner rather than later, in 4 minutes in, and Giannis puts one in the back of the net. At that point, I'm feeling great. I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, finally the team gets it. The team understands the message. Like the team finally knows what we're trying to accomplish this season, how we should be playing every single game. And then that only lasted about 5 minutes, because after that is when Cruz Azul kind of adapted to what we were doing, which credit to them. I think they did that extremely well. And for like the next, I want to say maybe 20, 25 minutes was all Cruz Azul up until the red card.
Christian mentioned something very important, right? It seemed like the message was finally conveyed across to this team. As far as them getting on the score sheet right away, looking very well on the ball. I know I get it was barely 5 minutes into the match, but we looked like the sharp America that we always knew we were capable of doing. So, do you think that was credited to the formation change, because we kind of went back to that kind of 4-4-2 diamond situation, or do you think it was just kind of one of those things like, okay, I think it was just it happened because it happened?
No, I think it is a formation change because the last time we saw this formation was the St. Louis game where we looked incredible, right? We could have came out that game 7-0. You expected that the rest of the games to look just like that, and you see the Henry Martin injury, and then you just see that they have to kind of force another formation. I think it has to be that I think once you saw them start kind of struggling, it had more to do with the coach than the playing style, in my opinion. I think the coach kind of said, okay, now you guys are going to defend this 1-0, right? And let's be honest, that's that's awful thing to do from just because you get one goal, right? And that's why a lot of people start judging him and start saying this is kind of Solari ball, where it's like you have to get comfortable with any lead. And I think you saw that from Solari, where you get the one goal and it's like, okay, now we're just gonna either defend this or we're just gonna be very try to be flawless, where it's like if another goal comes, it's gonna come from them making an error instead of us trying to force it.
Do you agree with that, Christian? Do you think that's a fair assessment of what Jardine instructed this team, or at least what it looked like his instructions were?
1,000%. I think it showed more in the second half. We'll get into that in a little bit, but that's like Chris said, and I'm 100% agreeing that is the wrong message. As an America coach, with the situation at hand, that's not something you should do or ever do. Honestly, it just I don't know. I would really 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 love to know if anyone asked them like in a post game conference or anything, like it was that the strategy, like is that how you wanted the game to be like panned out? Because if it was, then I don't know what he was seeing or thinking, but that's it just didn't look good, and it didn't look like Club America football in my opinion.
The only real thing I saw coming out of that presser at the end was basically Jardine saying that obviously that was not his intention for the team to concede those two goals and to kind of play to that style, but never really hinted as, okay, yeah, that was my instruction, or no, the players ended up wanting to do that. Um, but I just don't see, I really don't see this team being like, okay, we scored a goal, guys, let's just sit back, relax, like, cool. Like I've seen that before in an America side. I mean, you're talking about Chris. I'm talking to you about those late, 2000s where America would score one goal, they would look overconfident, and then boom, you end up walking away with either a draw or a loss. Like I don't feel that from this team. I don't see the players being like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be kind of lethargical and just kind of lay back and sit back, because I don't think that's how this team wants to play. At least I don't think the players intend to play that at all. So I know there was a lot of talk coming into this game, and we discussed it as well as to, is it more of a Jardine isn't conveying the message strong enough, or is it the players aren't capable of understanding the message? And Richard Sanchez actually came out and talked about it before this game and spoke to the media and said, we're training at 100%, and the manager's conveying what he wants, his playing style, and he's like, and he admitted it. He's like, it's taking us a while to adjust to what he wants. It's taking us a while to learn to his game style. And I don't know if that's a cause for concern because Christian, we're almost to the midway point of the season. You've gotten a lot more games under your belt. You're not talking about this is just your 6th game of the season. You had 3-4 prior in the League's Cup. Like, I would have imagined by now you should have something.
1,000%. And I think from what I took from the message, I don't know if Chris here agrees with me. I took more concern than positive from what he said. You never want your team to be confused, especially midway through the season, of how you want to play and how you want to encounter the later part of the season, because we still have an abundance of teams to go. We still have Chivas, we still have Monterrey, we still have Tigres, we still have Toluca, right? These are good teams that we still have to play against. And to see that the team isn't at 100%, or from what the message said, not even maybe 80% of what we're trying to do, it just doesn't look good from the standpoint right now. But we were talking about it earlier, and hopefully, this break kind of helps us gel a little bit better. But before the game, though, it just wasn't a good message from Richard Sanchez for sure.
I know. I thought it was a cause for concern as well, but I don't think it really was, because ultimately Chris ended up being in the starting 11. So it wasn't like Richard was, because I saw some people on Twitter saying, oh, he's just butthurt because he got taken out of the starting 11 in the past game, yada, yada, yada. But he slots right into the game against Cruz Azul. Like, if it was the case, I think Jaime would have just benched him. But I think in all honesty, he was speaking the truth.
He also echoed what the coach was saying. So, like, the coach even said, give me time. Like, these guys aren't there yet. Like, I saw that too. I saw a lot of people say, oh, he's going to do what he did to Solari and he's going to get him out of here. And in my opinion, they're professionals. I do think there is times where players do try to, like, get rid of coaches. I don't really think that's the case in this. I think the best way I could describe it is from a American football perspective. Sometimes you have offensive coordinators who try to make things too complicated that it takes time for these players to understand it. Sometimes in football, you get seasons, like, or on the next season for people to understand it, because the coach just makes things too complicated, whatever play or whatever style they want. And that's what I think Jardinelli is. I think Tano was more of I guess, let the players be themselves, like, the just trust on the individual talent. And I don't think Jardine is that. I think Jardine says we got to be organized, we got to do this and that. And let's be honest, it doesn't look organized at times, but I think the intention is our style, our IQ is gonna get us through this, not the individual talent. And I think it's just we have too many players that are very dependent on themselves instead of a team. How do I say it? A team style, And I think I do think maybe we do get better, right, with time, but it needs to start clicking sooner than later.
And that's a luxury you don't really have at America, is time, right? Especially when you came in as hot as you did. And I think we're being a little unrational, of course, but I've mentioned it. That's kind of the fan base of America. And I'll get to something that you mentioned, Chris, which I think kind of really got me thinking after the game. You said, you compared Solari's tenure to Jardin's tenure right now, and the similarities of, well, why was it okay for Solari to scrape by with a victory? And my criticism wasn't as harsh as it is to Jardine. And I'll get to my answer, because it really got me thinking throughout the night as to why it was the case. But it sounds like with Tano Ortiz, it was very 2D, and Jardine is very much trying to play 3D chess in this situation, right? He's trying to be more of a systematical coach, right? It's understand the system, right? Rather than you can individually do this, so you're going to rely on him being able to do that, so then we can go on and score. Now, I get it. It's not going to be perfect from the get-go, but as we kind of uttered already, Christian, there should be by now something cohesive to kind of hold on to and build upon. And to be honest, I find it hard to see or establish a foundation for this Jardines side. And that's the reality is sometimes I just can't really understand what the message is clearly. Is it attack? Is it defend? Is it hold the ball? Is it force the mistake? Like there's times where we're pressing really high and we're like looking like really strongly like we want the ball, and then there's other times where all our players are in the back. And so I'm lost to words as to okay, what is it that he's trying to play for? Okay. No, you're just gonna not Christian. That was your segment to just kind of say something.
I mean, you hit all the points. Like I don't know what else to add because it's so and the comment that I made last week is that we have a better squad this year, right? And the fact that we're playing worse, it's still something I can't wrap my finger around. And I don't know if it's gonna take Cabecita and Henry to come into the squad and change everything because it's hard to believe that a player that was kind of semi inconsistent throughout last season in Cabecita, and obviously a player who just came back from injury. So you're telling me that your plan is to inject these two into the lineup, and now everything should just magically work, right? Like that's basically what the fans are trying to tell me. That's what some listeners trying to tell me that these two are the missing pieces, and once these two are added in the 11, we're gonna look like Real Madrid and Barcelona out there. So it's just stuff like that I just can't. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? And if you're really trying to play that systematic, style of play, then not much is gonna change. Honestly, maybe you might score another goal here because you have Henry there, but your midfield's still gonna look a little lost. Your defense is gonna look like complete shit. So it's gonna be the same thing as last year, then, right? We can score all the goals we want, though. But if we're scoring 5 and they're scoring 6, then what are we aiming at here? It's the same thing as last year.
100%, 100%. And the most frustrating thing about it is that this game unfortunately got tainted because once Cruz Azul got the goal, it looked like they were gonna go and get the second right away. But then Charlie gets the red card, and I even tweeted, I was like, the worst thing that could have happened to this game was Charlie getting that red card because now America is gonna have that extra man, and I honestly thought we were gonna be able to capitalize on that. And the shocking reality is, we were not. Like we looked like we had 10 men out there with the advantage. And so, and to be honest, the reason why America wins this game is simply because Cruz Azul's goalkeeper just made too many mistakes and we capitalized on it. That's honest to God truth as to why America won the game. We did not outplay them. And to be honest, I don't even think we deserved the victory.
Some may say that.
I disagree. I kind of disagree with that.
You think we were the better side?
I think if you look at it from a 90s minute, I think we were slightly better. But
that's
like
bad.
You said, the last. Oh, I get it. I agree. It's bad, but I don't think Cruz Azul was all that either. I think they had moments in the last minutes of the game where they could have equalized. After the Antuna goal, that's when I was like, okay, Cruz Azul is a little bit better than us. But even then, we were still pushing up. So to me, it wasn't necessarily just like
right. So we were pushing up.
It was more.
We were pushing up, and there were often times where you had Quiñones pushing up with the ball, Diego pushing up with the ball. As soon as they crossed that semicircle in the midfield, everything stopped. Everything stopped, and then you pass it laterally that way, you pass it laterally that way, you pass it back, you go there, you go here. And there was no urgency to score anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Even after 3-1.
And that happened after the 1-0-2.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying. So
it wasn't just like in the end of the game. It was.
So now you pose the question: was that Jardine or was that the players?
No, that's Jardine. That comes from coaching, telling you like, hey, you just hold this lead, and then if they equalize it, you're gonna go and look for
that. Was an opportunity.
It's lazy
to put 7 past them again. 1,000%.
And people were tweeting that. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter. People were tweeting like, are we gonna score another 7? And then I'll say this though,
and the fact that we didn't score in the second half, that's pretty embarrassing.
Crew Epicness says it was 10 versus 10 because Laguin is literally non-existent. I want to ask you guys this, and I've been seeing this since last season, but do you ever see a hesitation from players to pass it to him? Where we start forcing it to the left side or wherever he's not at?
To be honest, I have not focused heavily
That
on that.
much?
So
Yeah, I haven't focused that
So
much, but
I can't
Because
sit here and tell you yes or no.
I've
what I
seen that.
do focus on is that he's just not a good player and he shouldn't be playing for America.
Yeah, Crew Epinix agrees.
But
Although Miguel would say otherwise. He's like blaming MVP.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, I wonder who. I wonder who Miguel Myers is. Cheeky. But I mean, in all honesty, I have not paid attention to that. And if he ever gets the opportunity, which I'm assuming he might against the Tigres in this friendly, I'll keep an eye on that. But I wouldn't say that this game was just solely because of Layun, of course. But
no. It is who he is.
I think he gave away. Miguel Myers, get rid of Fidalgo. Brian, you know it's you. Come on.
What if it's not?
But Crew Epinix says they kept the ball on Brian's side most of the time from what I saw. And yeah, I do. But correct me if I'm wrong, but that always seems to be a tendency from us from the beginning. I even with Tano, even with Solari, we for some reason like to drift to the left more than we do to the right.
There's just been always
because
on the left.
Who was on the right though? Because with Kevin Alvarez there, we play a lot through the right.
Yeah, no, that's true. It just depends. But I always see when Cabecita is there, usually the ball always drifts to his side. When well, literally that's all that I can remember for the past 2 years. So, but I mean, yes, with Kevin on there, I do see the attack being a little bit more different. Sometimes we don't even play to the right, but it's on the left, and Kevin somehow tends to be the striker, which, like I said, it's weird.
It is weird.
But
you want to know what I noticed too? When I was at the America Necaxa game, there's times Sendejas plays as a second striker, which tells you a lot of where the coaching is at too. If you're gonna put the smallest guy up there, and he's trying to win headers, like
Have you guys ever tried to focus on Sendejas trying to win a header? It's the funniest thing in the world because he still has that injury to his nose, so he knows like any straight physical contact is gonna be like lights out for him, and the season's over. So it's the funniest thing ever when he goes and tries to win a header. He just jumps, but he never really truly tries to go and win it.
That's gonna be sometimes an interesting topic to come around once we come back. Do we start Leo? Do we start Sendejas?
We might not even start any of them, brother. We're playing a diamond. They're not.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go with. If the formation is a diamond, then
would we get away from the diamond?
Look, we can sit here and talk a little bit more about the tactics, but I think the reality is, I don't see how we play the 4-3-3 that Jardine wants to play, and still play Diego Valdez.
You can't.
Unless you want to drift him out wide.
And I'll be honest with you, you kind of need Jonah Dos Santos, Richard, and Fidalgo.
Yeah, you need that anchor. You need that anchor because you're giving sometimes too much liberty to Richard and Fidalgo to go up that they get lost, and there's a huge gap in between the midfield and the defense, and we've seen it get exposed big time. So, yes, you need Jonah, and that's the reality of it.
And I'll be honest with you, after seeing Brian Rodriguez be up there as a second striker, I'm really not mad at that formation. People are going to be mad because there's going to be players playing out of position. Let's be honest. You're going to see Leo and Sendejas be attacking midfielders or center mid or even second strikers. But ultimately, your two starting strikers is going to be Henry and Quiñones, and their backup is going to be Cabecita and Brian Rodriguez. Like, you really can't be mad at that.
I mean, no, you really can't. But, I mean, kind of backtracking here to the game itself, because you kind of saw what worked and what didn't work with this formation, and then like we kind of were talking about with Jardine saying to the players, "Hey, look, I honestly think the message, because after halftime we go in there 3-1, right? We think, okay, 3-1, boom, perfect." Like, I was already getting past being angry at the fact that we were playing like completely dog turd out there, and then I was like, okay, 3-1. It looks like we can put 7 again on the scoreboard. Second half, I'm expecting at least 2 more goals, right? Like, kill the game off. And I honestly do think that the message for Jardine to this team was sit back, wait. They have to come and attack us. We're gonna get them on the counter. And that's why I think you see that lack of urgency going forward, Christian, when we have the ball, because we weren't playing the counterattack. When we had the ball, we were playing now, and the players were like, well, the sense of urgency isn't there because we have the lead. Coach said, let's just wait, soak up the pressure, and relieve on the counter. So when it's time for us to go, let's just move the ball around. Boom, boom, boom. Look, I don't mind if you want to play Barcelona ball, move the ball here, boom, there, boom, boom, triangle. But at the end, you should finish off a play.
Right.
You don't just lose it in 3/4 of the way through and be like, all right, now we run back. And the importance of that is, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4, touch, go. You're in the box, take a shot, goes in, goes wide, whatever. But that ball needs to be finished. We didn't see that. There was no end product. For me, it wasn't the lack of urgency being up 3-1. It was the lack of finishing a play. That was what got me.
But also, even being up a man, and it looked like for some parts, I think from minute, I don't get my time right, but I think it was like from minute, like around minute 70 until the game was over. I think it was all Cruz Azul.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had 10 and we had 11 and they were bossing us around, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I said it, and I tweeted it out and I sent it to you guys. It was pathetic. Pathetic. Jardine went out there and instructed his team to do that. And I get that's your comfortable way of playing because Gibran even said it out in during the game. He said, Jardine spoke about it. He's like, I'm a manager that will gladly take a 1-0, a 2-1, a 3-2. Like he's like, as long as I can get a comfortable result, I will take it. Like he's like, I don't have the sense or urgency to go out there and score 5, 6, 7 goals, which we were accustomed to with this America.
And that's where I have an issue with Baños because remember I told you guys he was doing. My bad for interrupting you, but like
no, go ahead.
Like Baños said when he was looking for a coach was to pretty much have a Dan Ortiz type coach, which was all offensive, just focus on the offense. He even said, "Oh, your fullback isn't the reason why you're gonna lose games." He said that. He said that when they were talking about Omar Campos, they were talking about. He said Kevin Alvarez wasn't necessarily a priority. It was more like, oh, it's a signing toy type of signing, right? So for me, is from ownership. How do you, if anyone's paying attention? Because I don't even know if ownership's even paying attention to these interviews. But if someone's paying attention to Baños, say we're signing him because maybe he wasn't our main priority, but he fell into what the style we want, right? And then you see him say stuff like that, like saying, I'm okay with a 1-0. I'm okay with this and that. That's the complete opposite of Dan Ortiz, right? Where Dan Ortiz was saying, we're going to go and score. Maybe he wasn't saying it out loud, but his way style of play was, we're going to go win 3-0 every game. Or if our defense isn't good, well, we're going to outscore them. Our defense isn't good. And you're saying you're okay with the 1-0? Like, then you should be vocal about in public, in the press conference, be vocal and say, I want defenders. These guys are not good. You hear rumors or reports of Mauro Lainez and Chava Reyes being offered to, or not being offered, but Leon is trying to sign them. Well, why get rid of both of them? You know, like if you're saying my defense isn't good or just I need to have a way more solid defense, then why not say Chava Reyes isn't good for me? Send him to Leon. Get money and bring me someone else. Maybe even from the same market, right? A Mexican that's more defensive, a veteran. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but Osvaldo Rodriguez, I think that's his name, right? From Leon, left back. His style is more defensive, a defensive left back. You have Luis Fuentes, and I don't know how about you guys, but in that goal, the first goal from Cruz Azul, that's all Luis Fuentes. You see him and you can't run back. He left all that open. People are gonna sit here and highlight Israel Reyes and Fidalgo in that play, maybe, you know, or whoever's in that defense. They're gonna highlight them. But the fullback is walking back. Go rewatch that goal. He's walking back, and they're burning that the left side. They're just burning through speed. and then he makes a pass to the guy in the middle while everyone else is trying to go to him. They leave someone else open, but that's not on the person that they led. They're trying to cover someone else's mistake, right? And that was all Luis Fuentes, And to me, it's like, why are we not prioritizing that side? Same thing when I went to the Necaxa game. People were going off on Emilio Lara. I'll tell you this much: Emilio Lara, what stood out to me in that game is he recovered everything that Luis Fuentes was making a mistake of. Everything. You would see
Chava
yeah. It was Chava Reyes that played that game?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Chava Reyes played that game. But Chava Reyes was leaving all that. But that's two left backs that do the same mistakes, right? They're leaving all that open. They're more prioritizing going up. One, Luis Fuentes shouldn't be going up. I'm sorry, but for reasons like that, he shouldn't be going up at all. And Chava Reyes just can't run back. He's just slow. And people are sitting here and say, oh, the center back, oh, Emilio Lara's at fault, this and that. Look, if Emilio Lara can't win the header, okay, I get it, But if the guy that's crossing the ball is alone, no one's pressuring him, and he's able to send a perfect cross, then who's really at fault? It's not the center back, it's the fullback that's giving all that space. And to me, to me, the main issue here is Baños. And I do think that if we, in the end of the season or even before the season, Jardinel leaves, he needs to leave with him, and we need to bring in someone that knows what he's doing, understands, maybe even a former player, someone that actually played, that understands all of this. Because to me, it just doesn't make sense that we still have all these issues, and the coach isn't the fit, and it doesn't fit with the players, and we invested this much into it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think really we're at fault here for drinking the Kool-Aid when we heard Baños talk on that stupid, what is it, that TV show on TUDN or Televisa, whatever, where he came out and he said, we're looking at managers and we brought in Kevin Alvarez and
Línea de Cuatro or something like that.
Yeah, Línea de Cuatro or something like that. And he came out and said, we're going to get a manager who wants to play our style of football. And then, it's our fault for believing him because he went on. Remember last time he went on there, he said Roger Martinez was never going to play for America. 2 years passed and he was still playing for America.
Who got injured that ended up forcing him to play?
Oh, man, I can't remember. But I remember it was due to an injury that we were like, okay, now we're stuck with him. But still, look, just don't go on those shows anymore. Like, just what reason do you have? Like, I get it, get the Americanismo hyped and excited, but no one else is doing that. Like, does Florentino Perez do that for Real Madrid? He just goes on there, it's like, hey guys, we're gonna buy some players and we're gonna do some stuff, and good looking.
He just flirts with Mbappe in every report that comes out, and
exactly.
Official bid ever comes out.
And because of Mbappe, we didn't sign Henry Martin to Real Madrid this season.
Look at that, man. It's always because of Mbappe. But I just feel like there is this sense of we drank the Kool-Aid and now we have to kind of live with it. Because let's face it, we were all kind of like in awe after the Puebla game, especially after the St. Louis game, right? Everyone was talking about Jardine, the Brazil team that America was looking like, yada, yada, yada. And now reality slapped us in the face, and now we're looking at us and we're thinking, well, damn, what went wrong? Like we went from the very highs to the very lows of things. And I find it hard to try to find a solution if there is any here.
I mean, everyone thinks that the solution is 2 players.
And it can't be that simple. You can't just put in Henry Martin and be like, okay, boom, problem solved, guys. We're good. Like if Henry Martin's gonna magically fix the defense, And
I think what people might be hopeful for is we go back to scoring a lot of goals. That's really the only thing we're kind of
so we can score 3 in one half and then just sit back in the next half.
Because that's gonna be the reality. Like even if you put Henry Martin on that pitch, you really think the instruction from Jardine is gonna be like, all right, guys, we got Henry now. Let's go out there, score as many goals as you want. Like there's no need to defend. Like we just mentioned it. He is a systematical coach, right? He wants the team to work as a whole. And if you completely neglect the defensive side of the game and focus on the offensive, That's not a systematical kind of game, right? A systematical game focuses on all kind of areas of the pitch, and they all work together. So I don't think if you put in Henry, you're not going to be like, okay, guys, no need to defend, no need to sit back a little bit. And what frustrates me is there's ways to defend yourself without looking so vulnerable. Like he's a manager that says, I love possession, I want to have the ball. Then boom, great. That's how you defend. Not by, hey, here, chuck it to the other team, wait back, and let's try to get them on the counter. Like, I get it, we have speed, we have Quinones, but if you're gonna be playing that kickball soccer, it's not gonna get you far. Because we've seen it before with other managers. We've seen it, and time again, that doesn't work at America. What works is when we have the ball, when we go to the rival. And that is the best way to defend yourself, is by holding possession. And then we talked about America being a very possessive side and everything, but it's just, we can't be careless either.
It's just frustrating because you have, imagine Julian Quinones, Diego Valdez, Brian Rodriguez, and Leo Suarez all coming at you at once, only for one of them to be like, wait, hold on, we're too far. Let's stop and let's just keep passing the ball.
Dude, when Diego Valdez had the ball on the counterattack and he literally stopped, went around and put his hands out like, all right, guys, slow it down. I was ready to throw the TV out of my window. I was just, I was like,
fact, you screamed, fraud, you fraud.
Yeah. I was like, Diego Valdez, you're this close to becoming fraud of the week. Because how? Like, there could be no explanation. Do you know how mad Cabecita was at him? He literally told him something afterwards because he had made the perfect run, absolutely perfect run. You hit it to him, he goes wide, he opens up the channel for you to literally go in there by yourself, and you decide to hold on, guys. No, wait, stop. Let's give him time to go back. Let's hold on. We have a 3-1 lead. No need to kind of run the extra mile. To me, that's mind blowing. Like how? As the number 10, you cannot do that. No way does Cuauhtemoc Blanco ever do something like that.
One thing I will say though, we let's talk about a little bit positives, right? At least this time they were able to shoot from outside the box, which is a positive.
And that's because Richard decided that he wanted to.
And Brian,
and let's be honest, the angle was given there. Oh yeah, and well, Brian's was technically inside the box, but he started outside.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it was from pretty far. And don't get me wrong, yes, I was happy with that. The fact that they're finally taking shots from outside the box, but
it took the other team to be down 10 men to do it.
Yeah, so the space finally opened up in that sense. And it's just the frustrating thing about it is, you walk out of that game and you think, let alone think that we're gonna be title contenders, but then you're looking into the next game and you're like, do we even get a win against Chivas playing like this?
I mean, to be fair, Chivas really isn't on the hot streak right now either.
Yeah, I was about to say, they probably think
to be fair, but that could be even worse for us now, because now they're like, well, now we're on like on a 2-game losing streak, and now we got America next. We got to win this one, so let's go all out.
Yeah. And I know that people are going to be thinking, you guys are crazy. Look at the table. Look where we're at. We're like literally in
we're sixth.
With 1 game in hand, right?
1 game in hand.
So they're thinking, well, if you win that game, you're about 14. You're literally at 14 points. You could be sitting third, fourth.
In fourth place, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to say we could score 3 past Querétaro, but we both know that's not happening.
On paper, we're not that bad. But the thing is, the reaction isn't the table. I think expectation is we're going to be in the big dance regardless. I think that's the expectation, right?
Yes.
For us, it has been going to another final and winning it. This isn't like, the reaction isn't, oh, well, we're going to, because let's be honest, this fan base has conversations about players not showing up in the Liga. Like, this is deeper than just regular season. Like, if you were, let's say, America was coming from not making liguillas or just being very bad like we've had in the past, then our expectations would change. We would be probably talking about, oh, well, how are we going to get there, this and that. We're talking about getting over semifinals, getting to a final and winning it. Like it's gotten to that point where we're just hitting the same ceiling over and over and over again. Like if Jardine takes us to a semifinals, he's just another coach. If we're being honest, he's just another coach.
Literally.
It's been the same since Piojo, and Piojo gave us titles, but since his last few seasons, it was that we're always hitting this ceiling, and we're trying to bring in coaches that gets us over it. So when we still see the same weaknesses, and then we start seeing new weaknesses, then the conversation changes. This isn't like, oh, we're just trying to get to the Liga. No, we get there pretty regularly. We get that week off, which this season there's going to be like 6 teams that make it to Liga, right? Like directly. So it's even like Liga isn't really the what we want. I mean, it is what we want, but it isn't like the main goal because now it's
Yeah, it
even
is an
easier.
end goal.
Yeah, it's even easier now because it is like what 6 teams now that make it in straight in. Like for us, like our main goal is getting to the semis, winning, getting to the final, winning. Like even if we make it to a final and we lose, which knock on wood, it's not that we lose, but let's say it gets it. Okay, we got over that hump, we got over that semis. But if it just hits the same ceiling, then it's the same issue. And like I said, I went on a rant about Baños, and ultimately that's what it is, right?
I think you have some merit there because it is a frustrating thing because we do have to get to that hump. And I think we're all looking at it exactly like that in that perspective. It's not okay, it's not because of the league, it's because we know that this is not good enough to get us past a semifinal, let alone a quarterfinal. So it's just I guess the Americanismo is envisioning themselves already in La Liga, already trying to get to the promised land. The reality is this team is not going to get anywhere in that because it's not a playoff team. It's more of a scrappy win here and there. You know, to be honest, America's playing like a mid-table team. Let's just be honest, right? He's got us playing like San Luis when he has to make us play like Brazil. We're not there yet. Are we going to get there? I hope so. And is Harina the man to do so? I don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. Because like Midwestern Cholo said, it felt like a loss after the Cruz Azul game. And I'm be honest, that's how I felt. Literally felt. I was so upset. I was so mad that with a man up, a 3-1 lead, you go and you sit back. You give the instruction to sit back and let the rival come and outplay you. That is unacceptable. That is unheard of. Christian, I think it's just too. Exactly, and I think we're talking more about a Americanismo perspective than anything else. That is just, like I said, pathetic.
But thankfully, before we started the whole podcast, we kind of spoke about the break that's coming up, and we have about a week and a half to kind of recover the injured players, maybe kind of iron out details here and there, and start working on to becoming that team that we all want us to be. Will it happen in this friendly and then the extra days preparing for the Chivas game? Probably not. But you hope to see glimpses of it for majority of the game against Chivas, which is a must win. A draw or a loss would be unacceptable because then at that point you're asking to get fired at that point. Yep. But we'll see what happens though. I'm excited to see what he brings to the friendly. I hope he takes it somewhat serious for at least the first 45. Maybe bring in some players there to kind of get them a little more game time. Cabecita obviously looked like he needed some game time there. Henry Martin will need some game time to kind of get them up to speed with everything.
Henry won't be going to the Tigres game. Just an update. Henry won't be going to the Tigres game.
Well, there goes my hope for that.
You're like, all hope is lost now, guys.
hey, but Cabecita could play that 9. If they play the same formation, the diamond, he could play right there too. And
yeah, but you're gonna have to at this point. So why would you play Cabecita there?
Well, competition. There's nothing wrong with. Let's say Henry doesn't come back 100 from the injury. You gotta need to have someone there. Like.
Is he gonna take Quiñones?
Or let's say Quiñones.
Is he taking Quiñones to the friendly?
I thought he was training with Mexico.
No, he's with the national team. He's not.
Yeah, that's why I was like, he's training with the national team in Mexico.
I mean,
But
it depends.
is
I don't know
he?
how long he's there.
I know he got invited for 2 days. No.
I'm not too sure, to be
If it's
honest.
only 2 days, you should be at the friend.
Should be.
Well, we'll see. I guess we'll keep an eye on that whenever they start flying now, which is going to be, I'm
Were they
assuming,
playing
Friday.
Austin?
They're playing in Austin, yeah.
Is that a good
So they'll
field?
fly it on Friday. Huh?
Is that a good field?
Yeah. Well, they're playing it at the Austin FC Stadium.
Okay, because you know how sometimes these friendlies be in the States. They go to the most crappy football stadiums and then come back all injured.
No, they should be. They should be in some decent, decent pitch territory, but we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what that game tells, and I think a lot of us are going to keep an eye on a little bit more closely, even though it's a friendly, because there is some things that need to be improved, and there is some things that we need to see improved from the get go. And we'll see if that happens.
I think I speak for everyone where when I say this that hopefully he plays the left back youngsters.
Yeah.
And
Wish.
they catch his attention and they start playing him, because this is one of those situations where you see these youngsters and they always perform in these friendlies and you're just like, come on, man, like just play them. Like the worst case is they stink it up and then you have to start playing the guys that were already playing. You know, worst case scenario is the same thing, right?
Right.
But I'm sure I speak for everyone. We want to see Mauricio Reyes
or
Ralph.
But is the Chivas game the right game to experiment in that sense?
Probably not.
I would argue. I would say that there's an argument to be said on both ends. Probably not, and probably yes.
Probably yes, only because they're a canterano and they obviously know what it is to play for America and against Chivas. Like that's probably everyone's dream, right? So yes, there's arguments there.
They
but
might have a Torito Silva game. Was it Torito Silva the one that? Or More Mosquera? Who was it?
Torito Silva.
They might have one of those games. You never know.
Who knows, right?
Back.
I mean, hey, like you scored like 4 goals as a left back once, so
that's true. Check it out on our TikTok page. It's on there. I mean, you're right. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So that's why I said this friendly may be interesting to see what he has cooking up for the next part of the season. I think we're all in the greens here, even though we've thrown so much negativity tonight. I think we all just want to see this team succeed, be a better version of themselves, as we know they can be. And let's just see if how they can figure it out, because right now you're not giving us much hope, but obviously things can change. And I guess that's what we all want, is for us to, I guess, get better within each game, reach the Liguilla, and hopefully lift that title at the end of the season.
No, yeah, and then look, this is the beautiful and also the ugly thing about soccer. It's fans have a very short memory. And if you start producing things on the pitch and you start winning games and you start looking convincing, well, everyone's going to forget, these past couple of weeks where we looked like, like a mid-table team. So if you go out there, perform, beat Chivas in a good way, and then you go out there and you play. But the thing is, these next couple of games, they're not easy games, and they're not walk in the park games. They're literally, tougher opponents. So I would say that he has a steep hill to climb, but like Christian said, we want to believe, we want to back the manager, and we want to say that, hey, Jardine, you are the man to lead us to the 14th, like he proclaimed he wants to be.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of work to be done. And Chris, I just kind of want to answer your question that you proposed to me that night, because I was very mad. I was very heated, and I was talking very aggressively on the DMs on Twitter.
He cussed me out, guys. He cussed me out. Not just kidding.
And you mentioned, right, because we were talking with Brian and Dylan and Christian, and you talking about how it was unacceptable, the way that we performed, the way that we won, how we just barely escaped with a win. And you mentioned that, because you had been listening to the podcast ever since we started, and then during the Solari era, you said I would kind of give Solari his flowers and say, it was an ugly win, but a win is a win. We got 3 points, and we continue to grow, and we continue to stack up on the table. And the criticism wasn't, well, this is America, you can't stoop to that level. Like, this can't be good enough. I'm sure somewhere I said that, but not necessarily more enough to be like, I'm anti Solari. And it got me thinking, because you mentioned, you're like, well, why is it okay for Solari to come away with these type of wins, but not Jardine? And it literally, like I was watching the game on my phone. We were going to some barbecue dinner thing, and the whole game, the whole time we were driving, I was watching the game and I was upset, and then I was thinking about it, and everyone was talking, having a good time, and I was just kind of in my head thinking, like, why is that? Why is Chris? They even asked me, they're like, Ivan, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. And really the only thing I was able to come up with was under Solari, he inherited a team that Miguel Herrera built for himself. And that team is nowhere near as good as the team that we have right now. Also, we have been spoiled with back-to-back semifinals, right? And I think that in itself as well has maybe kind of upped the bar where it was with, prior to Solari. And before with Solari, we had just been kicked out in a quarterfinal against Chivas. We haven't really reached our biggest heights. And so I felt like, okay, we were building up to something. And now, like Christian mentioned, well, we have something really good. We actually have the most expensive squad in the CONCACAF region. Like we have, yeah.
Monterrey
we
because of
had,
Tecatito, but
yeah, Monterrey just because of that. But you see where I'm coming from. Like the perspective was one thing with Solari, and with Harine, the expectation is blown out of proportion. I get that. I understand that. But that is just kind of the world we live in, because the trajectory from this team coming to right now was really high. Like you said, our hump is a semifinal. That's not a lot of teams can say that that's their hump, And with Solari, the hump was like, well, do we make Liguilla or
the rebuild?
Yeah, the rebuild aspect of it, right? I don't think America's in a rebuild section. America for sure was in a rebuild portion with Solari. America now is kind of almost a finished product. So I think that's why the criticism is maybe exactly like how it shows. If I had a graph to present it, I would, like Solari down here, Haidene up here. And that's really all I could think about was, yeah, I should be, if my criticism to Solari was like, okay, it's fine, we're getting the points, the trajectory is moving along, the agenda is moving along, and great. Same thing goes with Haidene. We're winning, we're not losing, we're getting points, we're scaling, this team is gelling. But the reality is this team shouldn't have to gel that much. It's literally the same team from 2 years ago almost, with maybe 2-3.
So let me ask you guys this, both of you. Let me ask you guys this, and everyone listening, you guys could respond to this question too. You guys see the results, right? We're winning games, and everything. We're not really in bad position in the table. Does this team feel like there is, at any moment you're gonna just see a bunch of losses and ties? Is that your gut feeling, or is it just your expectation is, and you're hopeful that we're gonna start looking really good, but the results are gonna be the same? We're gonna continue to win. Is it just more of a doubt, and just waiting for that drop, or is it more just in the moment? In other words,
no, it's waiting for that drop. It's almost like that Solari season where we played Pachuca in the quarterfinals, I believe, and they just steamrolled us, and we almost had to come back, but it just felt like that when they first started just scoring goals on us, that's how that felt. We were doing the same thing. We were winning games, barely scraping by some teams, having convincing game one day, but the next 5 we're all like, oh, what are we doing here? We're winning, but like, is this really going to carry us to the final? No. Okay, whatever. We got Pachuca. All right, let's see what we can do. I think we can beat Pachuca. Absolutely steamrolled us. That's kind of more the feeling I'm getting right now.
Poor Solari, he must just be haunted by Pachuca, because it was Pachuca what outdid him too. Wasn't the Pachuca that beat us like 4-0 or something like that that kind of fired him?
I believe so. And then Tano started that Tigres game afterwards, no?
Yeah.
Monterrey. I think it was Monterrey.
No, it was Monterrey. So yeah, poor Solaris. He can never go to Pachuca. I'm assuming he just has PTSD. But to be honest, to answer your question, Chris, whatever the middle ground is for that, because I don't necessarily think that this team is just going to utterly just fall apart and break down. And I think we're too talented for that. But I do see us losing games where we potentially could have came out with a result, maybe even a victory. And I see a lot of games where we should have won ending in draws because we decided to sit back, because we decided to be a systematical team that didn't want to go and score goals when the opportunity presented itself. Like my biggest thing with like I told you guys, my biggest thing with America is we're not managing games right. We're not killing these games off. We're not finishing plays, right? I told you, I'm fine with you playing the tiki taka, the Barcelona, the slow build to play, the 1-2 passes in the back, retreating, resetting, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. I'm okay with that. Like, bore me for 45 to 60 minutes if you just passing the ball around. But as long as we're winning, I'm cool with it. But make sure, one, you're finishing your plays, and two, you're not handing the opposition the opportunity to come and attack you as well. That's my thing. It's manage a game, manage the game wisely. And I haven't seen that from this America side. And the only time we did was because we were scoring goals left, right, and center. Like this team is at its happiest when you just liberate them. Like you tell the players, go and do your thing. Like just go full on attack. And that's when you see the best football. That's when you see the best of these players. And I think I'm hoping Harden is going to realize that and maybe give him a little bit more liberty against Chivas, and we'll see whether or not that pays off. But for me, I think there's a midway point in what you were saying, in the fact that I think we're not necessarily going to be losing all these games, but we're not necessarily going to be winning all these ugly games either. I think there's going to be a middle ground, and that's what I'm afraid of. And I think that's what we need to avoid.
Hopefully, we kind of have that Tigres-esque season where they kind of look mid throughout the whole tournament, and then some way or somehow in Liga they just turn up and become prime Brazil from 2002, and then they just start destroying everybody. That's also kind of what I'm hoping for. But unfortunately, unfortunately, that's not what I'm getting right now. Though is my problem.
So last question: what is your expectation for this month? Where we already faced Cruz Azul, so that's 3 points, right? We got Chivas next, and then on a Wednesday we got Querétaro, and then we got Toluca, and we ended with Pumas. How many points out of that?
Damn.
Expectations. I'm gonna be honest. Toluca and Pumas is gonna be really tough. That Toluca at 11 for us, Ivan, is usually a tough game.
That is never an easy game.
But Querétaro on a Wednesday could be very ugly as well, where we maybe don't lose, but we do end up with a tie.
That's
and then
gonna be
Pumas at home, right? That's Pumas at home, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
It's a very doable game, but it's a Clásico in the end of the day, and those games against Pumas could get very ugly, very physical, very ugly. So what is your expectation? We already got the 3 points.
Oof. And then on top of that, next, I know we're talking just September, but just a doble jornada with Pachuca. Ugh. It's not pretty at all, guys.
Look, to answer your question, you got the Clásico here in LA against Chivas. You got Santos, Monterrey, San Luis. San Luis is doing good. Cholos, and you ended with Tigres, where we might not even have our starters out there. Maybe. Big maybe, but
we'll see. I mean, I hope
we get
12 and 12, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like
12 seems like a stretch, dude.
It seems like there's a loss in one of those games. I just don't know which one. Most likely the Toluca game, to be honest with you.
I'm thinking the Toluca game too, and it could be the Pumas game too, if I'm being honest with you. And just because the Pumas game, I just expect it to be ugly. I don't know. Uglier than this Cruz Azul game, because in the end of that Cruz Azul game, we got very ugly. But I think Pumas might be more grimy than them, which I don't know what exactly Jardine wants these players to do in those situations, right? There's some coaches that let players be, just live out the heat. And there's some coaches that don't like that. So I really don't know where.
Yeah, I don't know.
So what are your expectations? It's 12 points, right? So we already got 3. I know we're gonna do
12
predictions
points
later
out
on.
of all these games in September. So you're talking 15 points in total.
Wait, how many points? You said Christian's at 12. How much is it in total?
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 games in September. So 15. We just got 3 against Cruz Azul.
15.
Yeah, it's a 12. 12 out of 15.
So it's 12. So 12
Man,
remaining.
Oh, I want 15 out of 15. I know that's me living in a crazy world. Heck, I even want to say 13. I'm gonna go bold and say I'm gonna go bold and I'm gonna say 13 points.
And I'll be honest with you,
points.
a lot of them look like it's possible that we could tie them all.
Yo, for real, they all look like drawable games.
Yep, that's what I was looking at right now. That's why I was like,
your worst nightmare is Tapia keeping a 0 for.
Yeah, literally is. Oh man, I don't know. Yeah. I want to say 13, maybe 10 if we're being realistic. 12 if possible, but I'm gonna go with 13. That's what I'm going with. 13 points.
That Toluca game just looks like a different menudo.
Yeah,
perfect breakfast.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we'll see. But I mean, obviously, there's still plenty to talk about and plenty to see, and still early in September, right? We have that international break, like Christian said, maybe a blessing in disguise, and we regroup, and we'll talk to you guys next week, and hopefully we're feeling a little bit more optimistic than we are right now, and definitely after that Cruz Azul game. But I guess the only thing to add on is the transfer rumor of Junior. What is his name, Chris?
Alonso.
Junior Alonso. Possibility of coming to America.
Paquin said we might be looking at to bring a center back, a defender, this upcoming week, which, if I'm not mistaken, should be the deadline this week for Mexico. No?
Yes. Deadline is coming up.
How do you guys feel about bringing in a center back?
We need it.
Yeah,
we don't have a center back.
No, but I mean, instead of prioritizing a left back or
center back,
you think a center back
is a leader.
You need
that is our
center back.
That is probably our best choice or best shot at somewhat organizing the defense. I don't think a left back will do that for you, in my opinion.
No, because if that was the case, then Kevin Alvarez would have sorted things out.
Right,
he hasn't.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, I think center back's the best shot. But left back is definitely needed next season, 1,000%. No questions asked.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting because I think obviously this transfer window has not been Jardinez's transfer window. Like, he has not said out, like, he's not said like I want Quinones or I want Kevin Alvarez. Like, he didn't get the chance to come in, assess the squad, be like, okay, I need this guy gone. I need to bring in this guy and that guy, and yada, yada, yada. We still don't even know what formation we're going to be playing going forward. So I think once we get a better idea, then we'll assess better of, okay, we have an idea of what we need and who needs to go and kind of go from there.
Gotcha.
So that's that. But hey, we'll keep you guys up to date with everything. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at Eagle Eye Podcast. And then we'll have you guys up to date with everything. Make sure you guys follow Christian as he's trying to point to his handle.
It's not working well. It's not working well.
There you go. That's right there.
Subscribe to his OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Right there. That right there.
All right, then, gentlemen. One last thing for you guys to say or mention before we wrap it up here.
Arriba la América.
Nothing. Just that. Exactly. Just that.
Arriba la América. I like it. All right, then. Well, we'll be back next week to talk all things America. Brian will be on the podcast as well to talk all things negative about Fidalgo, I'm sure. But we'll see how that goes. But
I really hope there's a debate.
I will be here.
I need a debate. F bombs everywhere. Just I need it to be ugly that day.
We'll definitely we'll have that show ready to go if we need to censor it when we go live, and then once I upload it, I'll make sure to put the little E for explicit. So we'll be ready for that day. But all right, thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. It's been fun talking all things. I think we got a lot off our chest, and now we feel a little bit better. Maybe we sleep a little bit better at night as well. All righty then. You guys have a wonderful time. Take care, and as always, arriba la America. Good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was another production of the Eagle Eye Podcast, the #1 source for all things Club America in English. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Eagle Eye Podcast and get all the latest news and coverage. And subscribe to our podcast wherever